Welcome back, my little recusants, to another episode of our Final Fantasy 13 100% guide. So basically, this episode and the next couple of episodes are just going to be 5-starring leftover Seatstone missions. So we are going to have to go back and fight the Behemoth and the sword guy as well from here. But as I was going along, I was like, which ones are we missing? And you literally have to kind of go number by number. And I was like, oh my god, I'm missing number 29. And I knew it was in the Mahabharata. So there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing these next few episodes. But it's literally because we're just in the last tidy up moments of the playthrough. And realistically, there's not an awful lot yet left. There's nowhere that we haven't been to already. So literally go to the waypoint, go to the Mahabharata, and then explore down there. And eventually you'll end up getting to the Seatstone that we need. And what I end up doing as well, this is really, really silly, but I knew the Seatstone was in the Mahabharata. But there's actually two that I haven't found. And I end up accidentally running to the wrong one. So we're going to actually be doing number 51 first. But look at, we need to do all of these Seatstones, get them all to 5 stars. And basically, if you go over Atmos and then run the kind of direction down. So that's where we went to go fight the big bad guy with all the little bats. And then basically there's a way down here. And if you basically follow that path all the way down to the end, you'll reach this Seatstone, which ends up being number 53, excuse me, but it ends up being that Seatstone. And I was like, oh, well, look, I'm after running here now. I might as well just accept it and then come back for 29, the one that I actually want to find. But essentially, you just run all the way back, go back to the teleport stone, and once you're there, we're going to be teleporting to the little archipelago, ancient ruiny place. And once we get there, essentially all of these boil down to use a Decepticol and use Fang and Lightning, because they're two of our heaviest hitters, just with the way that our ultimate weapons went and worked. But yeah, it's the actual traipsing that just takes all of the time at this point in the game. There's literally nothing else we need to level up. There's nowhere else we need to go. So like this just showing you the overall map. Hop over Atmos and then do a little U-shape and you'll end up getting to the mission 53. So I'm cutting a lot of this traipsing out because legitimately these videos were hour-long raw material recordings just because I'm literally going here, going there. All the battles are pointless. We're not getting any useful experience. We've capped out on crystal gem points that we're able to even get. So they're literally just wasting time whenever we get into fights. And when we're not, we are literally just running from Seatstone to Seatstone to Teleport Stone to Seatstone. Just to ultimately pop a Decepticol and win the fight in 10 seconds. So, you know, this part of the game is really testing my will to 100%. But essentially, preemptive strike, what's useful about Lightning is if you have her in the Saboteur role with an Aurora Scarf, she will de-protect everything, which will just keep their stagger going. And once Hope is on Ravager, he will build that stagger as well. And essentially, all you need to do is just keep attacking it while it's staggered. And these bird-type enemies love to put on debuffs, but hate being attacked while staggered. And it ends up staggering them. So moves like that Feeding Stoop would have gone off if we weren't peppering it with attacks while it was staggered. So it goes to do a wind-up, and then the wind-up is cancelled because it's staggered, because we got the preemptive strike, because we've Decepticols. So as I've said, just grind up enough money that you're able to buy a bunch of Decepticols for all the remaining Seatstone missions that we have. So now we're actually going to go hunt for mission 29. We're going to go to the right Seatstone in the Mahabharata, which is actually up where we ran around ages back in the playthrough when we were first on Grand Pulse, and we kind of had that little network where we ran from the save point at the top, we ran down from that save point into this little nook in the left, all the way round, and we actually found this Cieth stone, but it wasn't active because we hadn't completed enough of the other Cieth stones to make it activatable. Mission 29 is over in Tenjin's Tower, so we now have to traipse all the way to a teleport stone to teleport to Tenjin's Tower to ultimately put on a Decepticol and win in around a minute with 5 stars. So do not start your collecting of 5 stars for all these missions until you have the funds to just buy a stockpile of Decepticols. As well as that, if you're grinding for TP, you can put on... Oh, it's one of the collection catalogs. I think it might be Hunter's catalog. It's one of them. We definitely have the accessory. But there's an accessory that increases the drop rate of shrouds. So if you're fighting these normal enemies as we run around, there is a chance that not only on the hunt itself, but on just random, encounters that you can encounter while going from Cieth stone to Cieth stone, you could actually earn Agisols, Decepticols, etc. from just beating random mobs. So that is also an option, but you just need to stockpile. Like if you know, okay, I have these 6 or 7 missions that I know I can go Decepticol and run into, then just stockpile your Decepticols and just do this, because it is literally saving you such a headache. Now the problem with Atticus and the other Titan's Trials final monsters, they can't be Decepticoled, unfortunately. So that's why I'm going to have them in a little separate section, just so we're able to go through those and show you how to 5-star them. Because ultimately, we have max stats, we have, ultimate weapons. They mightn't be maxed out in their stats, but we are plenty powerful enough to be able to be getting these 5 stars with the right strategies, Now, this particular guy, I actually went to before. That's why we had it in the list, just not completed. But again, I didn't have Decepticols, so I just found this really tricky, and so I didn't go near there. This particular hunt has very powerful debuffs, so I would equip your characters if you want with resist debrave, resist deprotect, resist daze. Because unfortunately for us, lightning ends up getting dazed almost immediately. Now we still end up 5-starring it, but obviously it would have been just so much more handy if lightning wasn't completely taken out of the fight within the first few seconds. But again, we're going to have our 2 saboteurs starting out just to get slow, deprotect, just getting those things on so that while it's staggered, we're capitalizing on as much damage as possible. And obviously with Hope as Ravager, we're going to be getting as much damage as possible. But as you can see, immediately lightning gets some debuffs off, but is immediately dazed and poisoned, which is a bit of a pain, and slowed and deprotected. But all we needed was 1 deprotect on, and now that that Fang and Hope are peppering it with attacks, it's not going to be able to launch that feeding stoop, because again, we are interrupting it during that wind up because it's staggered. If it wasn't staggered, we would be in deep, deep trouble. But the bonus from getting the preemptive strike, the speed at which staggering, lets us completely erase its HP super quick, gets us that 5 stars, gets us a nice scale ring, 52 complete. And now what we're going to be doing is we're literally going to be tackling this big ring of Cieth stones in the middle of the Arctaz Deep here. And it's essentially all these different ones. So 56, 57. But again, just go up, because you don't want a situation like I had where I was missing 29, let's say. So just go in your little 10 by 10s and make sure you have every single mission done and 5-starred, because I'm planning on the last episode to basically complete the final mission, 5 stars, which will then unlock defeat all missions with 5 stars, and there's like another trophy for defeating a select 6 very difficult challenges, the last of which will be the last mission. So we'll actually get all of them because we'll basically have 5-starred everything else bar that one, and hopefully 5-starred first time. I should also address the elephant in the room. There's no sound, and this was a couple of different issues. So the original time I recorded this, I basically did these couple of things. I went back and filled in the blanks, got every mission up to this circle of missions done, and I think I did one other mission and then I called it a day. That footage got corrupted. I lost it. So this is now like a re-recording. I reloaded to that last save before I did all those other bits and pieces. Like lost 2 hours of progress, whatever. In the redoing of it, I then had audio issues. So this is where we don't seem to have any game audio at all. So I'm sorry about that. But as I say, there's no story things happening. There's no cutscenes happening. It's literally just we're going through the different fights. This is what they are. And as I say, the main thing is once you've Decepticol and you have lightning able to deprotect Ga or poison Ga, you know, just hit them all with enough of a AoE that they're all ticking up their staggers. It's basically like a free Quake. We don't have to use Quake using TP because Dispel Ga and Poison Ga are just hitting all of the enemies anyway. So once again, a very quick 5-star. We're getting Uranite and Perviskite and all these transformation catalysts as well. So it's absolutely worth our time doing it because, as you know, we have to still get every single weapon and accessory for this Item Hunter trophy. And that will require lots of money for buying transformation catalysts and all those other things. So the main thing is we're getting some free ones from these mission rewards, so don't look a gift horse in the mouth. They're brilliant. Okay. So next up is the final green mission. So we're actually going back to where we fought all those little penguins. The little gremlin guys. And again, I cut all this out because we've been along here so often. So you teleport to here, you go to your right, and you follow that long winding path down until you get to the very tail end cliff area where we fought the little gremlins. So like, I don't feel like this needs explanation. We've literally been to all these different areas before. So I'm sure you can recognize and find your way. And they're also marked on the map. So like, you know, just follow the little star until you get there. And you'll know what it looks like because you're seeing it on the video. But I do not see the point in me fast forwarding through several battles and like traipsing across the map when one, we've already been here, and two, the journey to get there is like 3 times as long as the actual footage you want to see, which is how did the battle go, which was very easy. We Deceptisoled and blitzed everything in 2.5 seconds. And once we've beaten this one, a Toothy Grin, and what's yours is Brine, you're actually going to get a trophy for beating all of the lower level missions. We don't get that because, as I said, the original data corrupted. I don't have that anymore, and so the trophies didn't pop. Now, this one is going to be the last one of this episode, guys. And these guys are actually quite challenging. So these are the barrier guys that cast lots of magic. And you wouldn't think two of them would cause such a hassle. But like one is basically buffed up and super, super strong. It's like the strongest version of these barrier magic enemies. And there's two of them. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to actually want to go in and spec your characters with equipment that's going to be resisting magic or all damage. But basically you're going to want to get rid of magic. You're going to also need your chocobo because they're up high on these little cliff faces. But you're going to want to spec your gang with magic resistant equipment. So that's your witch's bracelets, magus bracelets if you've bought the adamantites to fully upgrade them. But basically Fang and Lightning are going to be on damage and buffing, while Hope is nearly exclusively healing, just because they're spamming Erogas, they're spamming Ruin, they're spamming Runga, and you are going to be bounced up and down and all around. And what you basically need is you need Fang to be slowing them. They're only weak to 2 debuffs, slow and imperil. So you're going to want to slow at least one of them so their attacks aren't synchronized, because what can happen is they just start peppering you with ruins and erogas and everything else, and they literally just are so strong that if they're kept at their normal speed together, they will just overwhelm you with the sheer amount of magical DPS they're able to put out. And what it really is, I put on Deceptisol, they're actually completely immune to Deceptisol. So I ran in, died, and had to retry, and so I saved that Deceptisol because I just immediately lost. And here's where I'm going in saying, okay, we don't need as much strength. What we need is to survive, because once we stagger one of them, they're that weak to physical attacks that an extra 100 strength won't matter. What will matter is we are just needing resistance to magic, resistance to elemental attacks. Resistance to magic defaultly is better, but I do find they tend to use more erogas and blizzards than, strictly speaking, ruin magic, but still, resist magic would just encapsulate all of it, obviously. And as you can see, just look at the bottom there for their resistances. So I'm mainly using all that bits and pieces with Hope, like the resist damage from the Imperial Armlet. And I'm just searching along to say, okay, is there any other magic one that I can just give it another bit of a boost? And there's another Royal Armlet there with a star. So 32% resist magic, not bad. And then I'm like, okay, resist magic by a quarter. You know, it's not nothing. But obviously the higher you can build it, the better. But as for paradigms, just set them up like this. You can pause the video, but you essentially want debuffing and healing. Hope is going to be healing an awful lot of the time. And convalescence there with Fang as the synergist is purely because she could put up Shell Ra, which is obviously a much bigger buff to magic defense. Even if it lasts shorter, it's still better to have it there. So you're looking Shelra, Haste, Faithra, because the girls are all going to be putting on their magical capabilities to try and break down this barrier. And so you just want Shelra on everybody. Lightning admittedly is having haste, so what probably would actually be better with the benefit of hindsight is Bravera, Shelra, Faithra. Because Lightning is going to be putting on all those other haste buffs while she's there. And so now we've gotten basically the two that we need. Imperil to help chain bonus, and Slow. I'm putting Pain on there just so the debuffs last that little bit longer. But as you can see, one's doing multicast. We're getting bounced into the air. Like, it's still doing 1,000 damage, even with quarter resistances, you know? It's a lot of damage. And they're casting the Ga versions of all these spells, so it's just an absolute menace, you know? But so long as we're casting AoE magic as well, we're actually building the chain bonuses on both of them. But it's just the fact that they actually just can get us bounced and juggled so badly that we then go and say, okay, they're currently properly out of sync. They're not going to synchronize their attacks anymore. But what I want to do now is I want to try and slow the other one that isn't slow, so that now they'll both be slower, so they're attacking less, but they're still out of sync with one another. And what's interesting as well is Lightning's vigilance. That's actually being really powerful right now, purely because we're actually getting by with Fang not being jumped up or knocked around by all these different attacks, basically. And now we're going into just re-establishing our buffs here. So just using the repeat action. If you hold right, you can repeat your actions that you'd stocked up. We just need it really for Lightning and Fang. Hope's not really getting the brunt of it, which is great. But now, once we get them staggered, we know that the barrier for these guys goes down. So we're going to try our best to get some bit of quick healing. And Hope with his Kiraja is just so powerful. Like, he's just such a strong healer with his highest magic stat. And now we're going to just quickly build up this one broken, this staggered. And now we're going to hopefully get a bunch of damage in. Kill it in one stagger, really. Like, once it's staggered, we're just committing to commando. Commit to the commando, run it down, get it stagger as like into the mid 500s or so as you can, and just attack. Even if everybody else is getting low on hit points, it's like, it doesn't matter. We can combat clinic, and that will get us quickly up to good HP again. We needed to beat that then and there, purely because if the stagger wore off, it just resets the whole battle and we're nowhere better off than we were. Whereas now it's literally halved its DPS. We're in such a better position now. Slowed and imperiled, try disaster, just to literally build it up as quickly as possible. And since we're no longer like dealing with two of them, the AI isn't prioritizing, multi-hit attacks. So this chain gauge is actually building a lot quicker. And I don't know what to tell you guys. The sound comes back, so I'm not sure what happened to the sound before or what happened to make it come back now. But we're getting a little bit of our music and our fight. But it is good to get back to this series, and if you've been following the community tab, this series is finished. We've actually gotten all of the achievements, so this is just getting the last few episodes out to you guys, just so you guys can follow along and see how I did this journey. And basically, now that it's staggered, we're going to just finish up. The reward from beating these two guys is actually really class. It's another pair of Genji gloves. We can give that to Lightning so she can break the damage limit. And basically, with that extra Genji glove, we're going to be able to go into our grinding for money next episode, because we're basically going to finish out that circle, finish out the last couple of battles before you have to go back, redo those other two in the Titans Trials, do all our money to get all of the weapons upgraded and all of that stuff. But it's good to be recording these episodes again. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll chat to you next time. Have a good one.
Come true, let darkness slip aside, hiding all the hope, marking what we treasure, battles we can win.